Hello everyone, Alex here with another set of images. I've got 31 images this week, and they're all, apart from the first one, from a recent trip to Tubataha in the Philippines. It's a little bit of a weird collection, this, because I haven't had a chance to sort through my Tubataha pictures, and these are just ones primarily taken with a prototype Nauticam fisheye lens that I was trialing, and I've processed them out just to send to Nauticam, so they can evaluate the lens as well from the pictures. So they're kind of a bit of a mixed group. And there's also some pictures taken with, because that Nauticam lens is a mechanical lens, there's also some pictures taken with a Nikonos 15mm rectilinear mechanical lens, as a comparison, really. So it's a little bit of a strange mix, but there's 30, so I thought it was a good number for a to have a look at. So you'll notice with quite a lot of them, with the mechanical ones, that there isn't any f-stop information on the right-hand side of the screen here, and that's because they're all taken with a mechanical lens. I think there's a couple of shots taken with a non-mechanical lens. That one's taken with a non-mechanical lens, and in those ones you will get the aperture. On the mechanical lens, I was generally shooting to what was a set aperture of f11. Occasionally opening up to an indicated f8, but I wasn't convinced that actually those were the true apertures, and I think they were probably closer to f13, just in terms of the look of the pictures and the exposure levels compared to when I was shooting those same settings on a non-mechanical lens. So I'm not quite sure about that. I need to find that anyway. They're roughly about f11, f13, the mechanical shots. Right, starting off though with a picture from this is with the WWL one on the 28. It's a 60, taken with the Sony A7R5 in the Cayman Islands with Clara and Sergi. Just actually they wanted a picture for their engagement invitation or wedding invitation or something like this, and they don't often get to dive together. And actually, they have quite matching dive gear. You can see they've got the same face masks and stuff. So it was quite a nice chance to take a couple of pictures of them. And I took this picture with the WWL1. So it was a nice chance for me while testing the lens. It's just a standard little diver shot. But nice enough. A nice blue water, nice yellow sponge. Right, these are the pictures from Tubataha. And they're taken with the mechanical lens. So the first thing I photographed with the mechanical lens was something that I knew wasn't going to move. And it was this magnificent table coral. And certainly one of the things that really struck me in Tubataha was just how perfect the coral growth was. I think having been to Raja Ampat recently where there was bleaching, and then lots of other places where the coral is never, completely perfect. In Tubataha this year, there'd obviously been enough stable weather recently, not many divers during the pandemic, and it's obviously closed to diving for 9 months of the year. The coral there is just looks totally untouched. It will grow, so it's wonderful to see. So I was drawn to photograph this. It's just a very standard shot. I would just really using this shot to set the focus up with a manual focus lens. Kind of the first thing you're doing is making sure the focus works. And with the mirrorless cameras, I don't find with wide angle lenses the focus peaking is particularly helpful, because kind of everything shows up as in focus, even when you turn it to the lowest sensitivity. I much prefer to use the magnifying effect on either on the viewfinder or on just review. Shoot, review, zoom in, check sharpness, adjust, and I'll check sharpness both foreground and background. So here I would have zoomed in, check the sharpness on the coral. It's 400%, but yeah, it's I won't zoom in that much on the camera. Check it's in focus. Check focus on the background. Are those clouds reasonably sharp? Yep, that's fine. I'm just going to just take it down to 200% so it doesn't just show grain. Check, oh yeah, the background is sharp, so that's fine for my shot. And then I'll go from there when using mechanical lens. And if you're shooting stuff from a consistent distance, actually a fixed focus lens for wide angle works pretty well, actually. There's the odd shot where you end up a bit close or a bit far away and it's not quite so sharp, but it generally works pretty well. And then going down onto the reef, this is just down below. I think that the coral at the top might even be that same, this coral up here might even be that same table coral, maybe not. But just dropping down now and just shooting some standard reef scenes just to give a failing. So this is a nice sea fan here with the Anthias, soft coral and a leather coral backlit by the sun. And another sort of soft coral and table coral little scene. Just really testing the lens out, getting used to shooting it, and providing some sample images to evaluate it. This is a nicer scene here with this Gorgonian being billowed over in the current and all the fish lined up into the current. Kind of got a nice feel to it. A leather coral with Snell's window with my own bubbles in the picture. I guess I could have photoshopped them out, but I quite like the bubbles in there in this particular shot. I guess it's a very standard shot, so the bubbles at least are something a little bit different. You can actually see the gobies on the leather coral there. There's one there if we zoom right in. That will happily living away. And actually, there's another one up there. It's quite common that these big leather corals have gobies on them. And if you are shooting macro, this is a great place to shoot gobies because they're on such a clean background. It's always a really good opportunity to shoot them. So if I am shooting macro, I'll always check leather corals out for gobies because it's so cool to have them on just a super clean white background. They look really cool like that. Right, moving on. These are just some more shots. I think these are all on the same dive. Just a bunch of Anthias lining up with the hydroids. I was diving in Tubataha in just my shorts, so I was giving these hydroids a pretty wide berth because they sting like crazy if they rub against your leg. And when you're diving in shorts, you've got to be careful of those sorts of things. So, but this was a nice little bunch of Anthias. There's redfin Anthias there, which is that one you can see as a male there, showing off to a female in the middle. Nice sharpness coming from this lens, obviously. Being a water contact lens, it's got really nice image quality. There's no point, you don't need to dissect it. It just delivers. And then this is a Princess Anthias in front of it, and then in front of that is it spine chip? I can't remember what they're called now. Names threadfin Anthias. So you've got three Anthias male species right next to each other there, right through this picture. And that's kind of, I'm off next to the Red Sea, and there it's just kind of, although there are two Anthias species in the Red Sea, it's nearly always scalefin Anthias dominating the reef scene. And here, in one small area, you've got three males of three different species all living side by side, operculum to operculum. Together. That is interesting from a biodiversity point of view, but I actually think it's one of the reasons the Red Sea reefs are so pretty, because actually that slightly lower biodiversity simplifies the colour palette, simplifies the look of the reef, and makes for pretty pictures. This picture is not taken with the Rector, not the Rector Linear, the other lens. I'll just zoom it a bit bigger so you can see it with the settings. This is actually taken with a normal fisheye. This is shot with the Nikon 8-15mm fisheye on the Monster adapter on the Sony. Actually, the reason I was pausing over that and checking is I also used the Canon 8-15 on a Metabones adapter, which I borrowed from Stephanie on the trip, as a comparison. And the two, in terms of optical performance, are indistinguishable. The Metabones, though, is a better adapter. One of the problems with the Monster adapter is when the camera goes to sleep or you turn the camera off during a dive, the autofocus goes back to infinity, so you have to refocus it when you turn it back on, whereas the Metabones keeps it. But apart from that, you would not know which one you were shooting, either while shooting it or in post while editing the pictures. Anyway, this is a nice, just evening light shot. Nice dappled light in the sunset. I really like that block of Porites coral on the left-hand side of the picture here. Created a really nice, along with the sunburst, a nice focal point for the background of the image to create depth. And then in the foreground, we just got this mass of Philippine damselfish with the Acropora coral that they were living on. Right, this is a shot taken with the Nikonos 15mm lens, so the ancient old Nikonos 5 lens. This is a lens that I've owned since new, and it's sat in a cupboard for 20 plus years, and I got it out. I know people sort of say this is the Rolls Royce of underwater optics, and it's the sharpest underwater lens you can get. It's sharp, but it's not amazing. I think it's not loaded up properly that time for some reason. I think the WACP is sharper than this. So maybe it's my lens. Maybe it's my manual focusing. But I don't think so. I just think this lens it's good, but it's not quite as amazing as it's been cracked up to be. There's a pair of lionfish shot with it. It's nice and easy to use. It's not especially wide. So it does diversify your portfolio a bit. It's sharpish. It's sharp. It's sharp on the lionfish there. It's nice and sharp. but it's not like, I don't see this as like a level above anything else, which some of the people using it would have you believe. It's sharp at the edges, but there's a bit of distortion in the corner. I don't think that's perfect in the corner by any means. The edge of the frame here is quite nice. It's a definitely a good optic. It's sharp. It's got good color, but it's well, I certainly wouldn't pick it over the WACP as a, optically and obviously practically being manual focus. But I enjoyed using it a lot, and I will probably continue to travel with it because it is so light, and it is fun when to shoot things slightly differently. And I don't find the manual focus particularly difficult. It's another shot taken with it on the same dive. These are on a dust dive, so the ambient light levels were quite low when I was shooting these. So the settings are probably quite strange. It's a 30th. The lionfish were a 60th because it was getting quite dark. But you can see that the chromis are sharp. They are nice and sharp. It's a sharp lens. It's not like it's a blurry lens. Let's have a look at the corners. It's good into the corner, but you see some chromatic aberration coming in here. It's sharp right to the corner. It's not a bad lens, but then it's not that difficult to get a lens that's the equivalent of a 20mm lens to be sharp right into the corners. You're not talking about an ultra wide angle here. You're talking about a kind of, in underwater terms, a standard wide angle. But I did enjoy shooting it, and this is another shot being a bit more creative now. You can't really judge corner sharpness on a picture like this, but I like the feeling of movement. This jack was harassing the blue-green chromis, or there might be axle spot chromis on the reef here, and they were all diving for cover and going up again and diving for cover, and I was trying to capture that in this long exposure of just the energy and the movement. These are some more shots with the 15mm. Again, I did enjoy the rectilinear look of it, and I did enjoy the different focal length from something I'm used to shooting underwater. This is an Elisella C whip, and then this is another shot of the same C whip, but this time with a long exposure and just a camera rotation, intentional camera movement during the exposure. This is from the same shot, same dive as the C whips. We had this baby whale shark. It was about 2 meters long, about the same length to dive with fins. It's the smallest whale shark I've ever seen in my life. It was also skinny as well, so it had very little bulk. And the first dive we encountered this friendly little guy, I was shooting macro, and I looked up and I was able to shoot the whole whale shark with my macro lens. I didn't move from the reef, I just angled it up, turned my strobes off, and shot it up to the surface as a silhouette with the macro lens. It was so small, and actually when the other divers were swimming alongside it, they often looked longer than the whale shark. So that's how tiny it was, but very cool. This is a shot where the whale shark was much closer to me than it was to Anna, who's in the background of this picture, wearing a whale shark coloured dive skin, which was pretty cool. And so the whale shark looks a little bit bigger here than it really was. Here it kind of looks like it's, probably, I don't know, like 5 meters long, something like that. But it's actually only about 2 meters long. It's only tiny. You can see probably from how big the remora is on his head, how little this little guy was. In the Philippines, they get these parasites on them, which is what all the black markings are. Probably easier to see in the previous shot. See the copepod parasites up there at the top of the picture, and on the fin there. If I can scoot around and bring them up, that they get on them. Which are very characteristic of this area, the Sulu Sea, on whale sharks. And the whale sharks often have almost completely black bellies with these parasites on them when they're in this area. Right, this is another shot with back to the Nauticam fisheye. This is just another sunset dive, diving with that lens, shooting the reef with nice evening sunlight and pretty reef colours. And basically all these shots are very similar. I'm just moving around the reef, shooting different pictures, different scenes with that same evening light. The reason this picture has nice sunburst and this one doesn't is simply depth. This picture here is probably taken down at about 8, 9, 10 meters. This picture here is taken up shallower at about 3 meters deep, maybe even shallower than that, maybe 2 meters deep. Probably 3 meters deep actually. And when the sun is this low in the sky, you need to be this shallow to get these beautiful sunbeams. But on this particular reef, there was more colour and interesting subject matter a little bit deeper down. So although the sunbeams aren't as nice in these shots, obviously the life is nicer. So I was sort of doing both, going up and down the reef a little bit. Looking for nice subjects as shallow as possible, because I knew the sunbeams would get better. But obviously as I came up shallower, there were less interesting subjects to shoot. this very pretty crinoid was really, really nice. It was a decent depth, probably about 5-6 meters, which in the daytime would be great for sunbursts, but when the sun is so low in the sky, really need to be very shallow to get those nice sunbeams coming in. Very handsome diver there. This is just a selfie I took of myself. I thought this was actually taken with the 13mm Nauticam fisheye, but actually this was taken with the Canon 8 to 15 on the Metabones adapter. I processed it thinking it was on the other one anyway. And I've cropped this a little square. Most of the pictures I haven't cropped, but this one I cropped 4:3. I just thought there was only blue on the sides, so I just thought it was good to crop it 4:3 as opposed to 3:2. Right, these are some shots with the WACP and the 28 to 60mm lens. Great lens for marine life and scenery. It's really wide, but you've got the flexibility of the zoom. The 28 to 60 is not the most amazing topside lens, but behind the WACP, it's proper sharp. I mean, that's, the sharpness on the eye of this long nose Emperor. Really impressive. Really nice on the corals here as well. Just great crisp detail and colour coming through, and just a lovely combination for this sort of reef diving. You can shoot more scenery, you can shoot scenic shots with subjects in, really, really, really diverse. And I think I just processed out a few of these just to have a look at the quality and the detail in them. You can see how much detail there is on these sea whips, these Ginsela sea whips, and the sponge. It's not loaded up properly this time, but you get the idea. And also capturing that blizzard of fish that, when the current is running, is so typical of Tubataha. And one of the things I love to shoot there is just this really, really pristine, rich reef edge, and then the blizzard of small fish in particular, that throng above the hard corals and the soft corals. And these are more Philippine damsels, Philippine chromis, just on the edge of the reef there. These are some shots, I think with the 8 to 15 again this time. Let me just check. Oh, escape. Sorry. This is with the 8 to 15 again. So with autofocus shot on another dust dive, but this time focusing on turtles. This is just a female green turtle and a male green turtle. Staying shallow, getting these nice sunbeams into the shot. Really nice sunbeams coming through at that time of day. Really, really pretty. And shooting the turtle with the 8 to 15 and the 230mm dome. And then I think there's just 2 more shots with the 13mm to look at. Back to the Nauticam 13mm fisheye. This is just a little reef scene. Actually, this was just I just drew to this because our dive guide was Anne was always trying to stay out of our pictures, and I was sort of trying to get a picture with her modelling, which she wasn't very keen. Well, not, she'd have done it if we'd asked her before the dive, but we generally were telling her, "Oh, stay out of the shots." And then I saw her hovering up in mid-water here, so I swam to this little hard coral and just shot it as a foreground to make use of her as a diver. And the subsequent shots are pictures of her trying to swim out of my picture, which is quite funny. But this one, she was still just realised she was going to be in my shot, so I was able to use her as a model before she tried to escape. And then just a photo of some plastic caught on the reef that I this is actually I was going to collect this, and then I realised it was a nappy or a diaper, and I left it on the reef because I didn't fancy picking this up because I didn't have anything to collect it in. If it was just a piece of plastic, I would have stuffed it into my rash vest or something, but with nowhere to carry this, I wasn't going to. So yeah, unfortunately I left this there, but I was drawn to this because the corals were just so perfect, and Tubataha has such an untouched feel that just a small piece of plastic like this just feels so jarring underwater. And it shows that even a remote reef like this, where there isn't really any human population for a very 100 miles or so, that even there, an old diaper, an old nappy, can still wash up on the reef somehow. The problems of plastic pollution even reach these very remote, super untouched locations. That's why I've just processed that one out. So that's just a quick look at some of my early processing from Tubataha. They're absolutely, I like some of these shots a lot, but they were selected not as being favourites, but as being of technical interest to compare shots from that new Nauticam 13mm lens that probably won't ever see production, but it was just interesting to feed that back. It might well spawn other designs. And compare that to the Nikonos 15mm and to compare it to the WACP all shooting on the same camera on the same reefs by the same photographer, so it's quite useful to compare those different lenses. But yeah, I really enjoy shooting all those lenses, and I plan to take all of them to the Red Sea in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. Okay, I'll be back soon with more pictures. I've got loads more to process from Lembe. I haven't touched Iceland yet, and I haven't even picked favourites from Tubataha. So lots of pictures coming your way on the channel. Hope you enjoy these review sessions. Thanks, bye.